Hey, I'm Deanna, and here's my story. I'm a senior this year, and I have a boyfriend, Kirill. He's the same year as me. He's tall, handsome, and even a basketball player. But the most important thing, he loves me. And nothing can tear us apart, or so I thought. Let me start at the beginning. It was Saturday, and me and the girls decided to throw a little party. My parents left for our summer house, so until late that evening, the apartment was in my control. I bought tons of different snacks, and the girls brought food and drinks. First, we thought we would be hosting an all-girls night, but then Kirill called. The girls weren't against him coming over, so I invited him. And then he came with his classmate Ace. We all knew each other, so we got along without a problem. Then suddenly, someone rang the doorbell. I was shocked to see Blondie on the other side of the door. We didn't really talk much. Her behavior drove everyone crazy, so no one really wanted to be her friend. And so here's Blondie, standing in the doorway of my apartment. "What are you doing here? You're not on the guest list, Blondie." "Nastya posted your party on her story and even tagged the location, so I decided to come check it out." Nastya is my friend. She was there at the party, so I let Blondie in. Before I continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you click on the bell so you'll be notified when my next video comes out. So, in the room, everyone started playing the game Truth or Dare. You guys know that one? Everyone takes turns, and when it's your turn, you make a choice between telling the truth when someone asks a question, or to follow through on a dare, to avoid answering the question. The game started off with really innocent questions like, have you ever stolen money from your parents' wallet? Then, it was Ace's turn, and he chose truth. And Blondie asked him a question. "Ace, which one of us would you like to date?" Ace turned red and was taken aback. Silence hung in the air. Everyone looked at each other in surprise, but Blondie looked at Ace teasingly. "Well?" She looked at him, trying to force an answer out of him. Ace nodded his head. "I'm not going to answer that." Kirill patted his friend's back. "Chill out, Ace. It's just a game." Ace turned to Kirill and whispered, "You won't like my answer." Kirill looked carefully at Ace, then at me. "Diana?" "There's nothing between us, Kirill." Ace suddenly got up and left the room. Then I heard the front door slam shut behind him. The party was ruined. The girls also packed up and left within a minute or so. Then, there were only 3 of us in the room. Me, Kirill, and Blondie. Kirill rested his hands in his pockets, stood up, and looked outside the window. He was waiting for an explanation. Blondie, as if not noticing me, went up to Kirill and handed him her phone. "There's a reason I asked Ace that question, Key." "Don't call him that!" I screeched. At this very moment, I wanted to grab Blondie by the hair and throw her out of my house. Then she turned some kind of video on for him, and for a couple of minutes, he just stared at the screen silently. Then he turned to me coldly and said, "I would have never expected that from you," and left. I couldn't show Blondie how torn up I was inside, so I dryly asked, "What did you show him?" Blondie looked at me slyly. "You remember last year's dance, right?" And I understood. I totally forgot that I had first met Ace then. He invited me to dance with him, and then another dance, and another. Kirill and I weren't together at that time, even though I had a crush on him then. But that night, Ace invited me to go for a walk around the alley. He asked me to be his girlfriend. Ace is a really nice guy. Great sense of humor, smart, but I didn't see him as a potential boyfriend, so I politely declined. Very soon after, Kirill and I started dating, and it turned out that Ace was his best friend. We would talk, but we would never discuss what happened that night. Kirill is a very jealous person, and Ace is his best friend. I understood that this story could cause a huge rift between them, and I didn't want to be the cause of that, but now it didn't matter anymore. Blondie smirking handed me the phone, and I saw a video of me and Ace that night walking around the alleyway. I saw how he stopped me and grabbed my hand. Nothing else happened, but for Kirill, that was enough, more than enough for him to be angry at me. Why would you do this? Blondie proudly smiled. I really like Kirill. And it wouldn't hurt for you to come back down to earth a little. You've gotten such a big ego. Ciao. I'm gonna go catch up to Kirill. He really needs some support right now. She ran out, giggling. I sunk into the couch. Should I write or call Kirill right now? He definitely wouldn't answer. Should I wait a couple of days or run after him now? Maybe I should talk to Ace. Ask him to tell his best friend everything exactly as it happened. I have so many questions swirling around my head and not a single logical answer. Maybe you guys have some advice for me? Have you ever been in a situation like this? How do I fix it? What do I do? Write me in the comments, please. I'll be waiting.
Hi, I'm Brenna, and I want to tell you how an ugly girl can become happy. I'm the older sister in my family, and I always knew that my parents loved the younger one more. After all, she is very beautiful, and I am ugly. Yes, that's what my mom and dad always told me, wondering why I was born so ugly. But I didn't get offended. I accepted it a long time ago. But when I was 12 years old and my little sister was 6, my parents got divorced. Dad left, slamming the door, and Mom had to provide for us by herself. She worked 3 jobs, but it was still very difficult. And then, one day, she broke the news to me. Brenna, I can't support 2 kids anymore. I can support only one, and I choose your sister. I was shocked. What am I supposed to do, Mom? It's not fair. Tomorrow I'm taking you to an orphanage. It's not up for discussion. I was so hurt. I cried all night. And in the morning, I found myself at the orphanage. I was very afraid to go there. I heard a lot of horror stories about orphanages where children are abused and left without food. But surprisingly, the teachers treated me very well, and I made friends with several children right away. At first, of course, I cried and missed my mother and sister, but they didn't visit me, and soon I stopped thinking about them. A year later, a family came to our orphanage and wanted to adopt a child. I didn't get my hopes up since I was already 13 years old, and everyone wanted to adopt a baby. But after their visit, everything changed. Before I continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you click on the bell so you'll know when there's a new video coming out on the channel. I was asked in the orphanage principal's office and told that I would soon have a new family. It turned out that I looked a lot like their daughter, who died a couple of years ago in a car accident. A week later, I was already sleeping in my new room in my new parents' huge house. They were quite wealthy people, and I had the impression that I was in a fairy tale. My new mother took me to the beauty salon, where I got a fancy haircut. Then she and I started shopping, and she bought me a lot of new clothes. I started going to school, and teachers praised me very much. It was only sometimes I got sad. I still missed my own mother and sister. One weekend, I went for a walk in the park with my new friends from school. I wore a beautiful dress, let my hair down, and I was in a great mood. We were walking, laughing, and eating ice cream. All of a sudden, I hear a familiar voice behind me. Brenna? Mom? My friends froze in place, and I froze looking at my own mother. I wanted so badly to run over and hug her, smell her fragrance, but she looked at me like I was a ghost. You're changed. That dress, the hair. Tears were choking me, but I held myself together. I noticed my mother was wearing some worn-out old sneakers. Her temples had turned gray, and there were very dark circles under her eyes. I was adopted, Mom. You gave me up. Now strangers have become my family. They must be rich people, since you look so chic now. My mother looked at me with a sneer, and I felt very hurt. I realized that she did not miss me all this time. She didn't need me. I hope their money will help you marry well. After all, such ugly girls like you often end alone. Mom hummed and walked away quickly. I saw that she did not look good. I saw that her clothes are stitched and on her arms are swollen veins, apparently from hard work. But her heart was just as cold and cruel. I struggled between pity for my mother and anger for her. I stood there and watched her go. The ice cream melted in my hand and dripped onto the sidewalk, and I didn't know what to do. Should I have called her back and showed her I'm not angry with her? Or should I treat her the way she treated me? What would you have done? Write, please.
Hi, I'm Becca, and I'm about to tell you an incredible story. I was 13 when my dad left my mom, and he did it in a very rude way. He told my mom that she had stopped taking care of herself and looked old, and that's why he lost interest in her. I heard it all while standing in the hallway. They were fighting so loudly. After that, Mom really became very depressed. At first, she just sat in front of the TV for a week and ate everything she could get her hands on. Then she started insulting me. She was hurting me all the time, blaming me for the divorce with my father, that she had become old because of me. I was so upset that I started writing down all of my thoughts in a diary. It made me feel better. I wrote that I hated my mom, that I wanted to run away from home and never see her again. 3 years passed like that. I grew up and became a beautiful and charming girl whom guys started noticing. And my mother hated me more and more every day. Sometimes she was putting on weight, other times she was on some crazy diet and was losing weight, but she was always very angry and behaved aggressively. I once wrote in my diary that I understood why Dad left Mom and why she couldn't find a new boyfriend. It wasn't that she got old, it was her obnoxious temper. After high school, my mom told me not to go to college. She said that she had already spent enough money on me and that I had to go to work. Her company was looking for an intern for a secretary position, so I started working under my mother's supervision. At first, I was really mad at my mom because all my friends had gone on to college and I'm here, doing paperwork, making photocopies. But soon I realized that I was good at it. 2 years later, I was promoted to assistant manager. After work, I ran home feeling so happy. I wanted to brag about it to my mom. She was on sick leave at the time, but there was something else waiting for me at home. Before I continue, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you've clicked on the bell. Then you'll know when there's a new video coming out. So my mom was sitting in my room on my bed and reading my diary. How awful! All my secrets were there. All my most intimate secrets, and my mom was never, ever supposed to know them. So I'm evil, and that's why I can't get a boyfriend? When my mother saw me, she jumped out of bed with her fists clenched. She started to come at me slowly. She never hit me, but this time, I got scared, and I ran away. There was nowhere to go, so I locked myself in the office. Fortunately, I had the keys to it because I used to clean it sometimes for extra money. I was laying down on the couch trying to calm down and figure out what to do next, and I dozed off. In the morning, I felt a warm hand on my shoulder. When I opened my eyes, I saw a guy leaning over me trying to wake me up. Oh, don't be afraid, but you do have to get up. Work starts soon. I came to work early to meet everyone, and here you are, asleep. I'm sorry, are you the new guy? I'm Rebecca. Nice to meet you. Are you Rebecca Hall? I nodded back. Well, I've heard a lot about you. I'm Matthew Adams, your new boss. This is so embarrassing. I'm sorry. I had a fight with my mom, so I came here. I had nowhere else to go. I'll just quickly make myself ready and start working. You were recommended to me as a good professional. So from now on, you are my personal assistant, Becca. I couldn't believe my ears. I was so happy. And now all I have to do is figure things out with my mom. 6 months has passed since that day. And now I'm living with Matthew. Yeah, he and I started seeing each other shortly after we met. And Matthew, knowing about my problems with my mom, offered to let me move in with him. And now I'm going to university, which Matthew is also paying for. And I'm happy. I'm very happy. And my mom still works for my boyfriend. She's still not speaking to me. Can you give me any advice? How do I make her talk to me again? I would really appreciate your suggestions.
My name is Saoirse, and I'm almost 15. And I have a problem. I have fallen in love with my best friend. Alex and I have been friends just from the cradle, and until recently, I was sure he was my friend, nothing more. But suddenly, Alex went from a small freckled guy to a tall and very good-looking guy. Girls started paying attention to him, and one day I understood that I was in love with him. We often hung out at his house, play console, and watch TV. Today, we were supposed to hang out together again, and I decided to make a move. Instead of my usual baggy jeans, I wore an ultra-short skirt and an open top and long stockings. I felt uncomfortable, but I was determined. I even put red lipstick on my lips. Alex let me in, and we sat on the couch to play shooting games like we always did. I sat closer to him. I was laughing at his jokes and even tried to let him win, but Alex wasn't paying much attention to me. You know, Alex, you may have beaten me in the game, but in reality, I'm stronger than you. And I grabbed his arm and quickly twisted it behind his back. Hey, Saoirse, what are you doing? I told you. I won't fight with you, girl. Stop it. Tell me who's your crush at school. Alex laughed nervously. Why do you ask it, Saoirse? Well, it's BB, so what? Hearing this girl's name, I let go of Alex's hand. I didn't stand a chance. BB was a very gorgeous girl with long white hair, always with perfect makeup and always with perfect pink nails. She had half the school chasing her, and she has been playing the boys at school how she wanted. We used to go to tennis together, and she'd often brag to me about her next boyfriend. But Alex, she's a slut, I blurted it out. So? I really like her. She's so cool. Alex swallowed. It was pathetic to look at, and then suddenly Alex looked at me with a pleading look. Saoirse, you and Bibi go to tennis together. Can you arrange a moment for us with Bibi? I want to ask her on a date. That was it. It was beyond me. I wanted to go on a date with Alex myself. Not that he dates this Bibi. I got frustrated, but after a minute, I had a plan in my head. Alex, hold on. I told Alex to come to the gym tomorrow after school. There, he could be alone with Bibi. We were supposed to have a tennis lesson. No one would disturb them, and Alex would have a chance to charm her. Alex had no idea there was a surprise waiting for him. Before I continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you've clicked on the bell. Then you'll know when there's a new video coming out on the channel. I didn't go to school the next day because I was getting ready for my surprise for Alex. I bought a white wig, did long pink nails at the beauty salon, and did a perfect makeup as well. I also put on a tight mini dress, looking my best. I came to the gym at a specified time and sat down on the bench with my back turned to the entrance. After a few minutes, the door opened and my heart began to beat faster. Bibi, hi, I heard him from behind. Alex walked in, but I didn't turn around. Saoirse said you had a tennis lesson, so I thought I'd stop by to hang out with you, if that's okay. I sat there afraid to move, and I knew that a few more steps and Alex would be right beside me. Bibi, did you fall asleep in there? Maybe you want Prince Charming to wake you up? Alex's voice was quiet and languid. Suddenly, I felt his arms around my waist. He took me in his arms and turned me sharply toward him, kissing me on the lips. I responded with an equally heated kiss in return. Wow, Alex is a good kisser, I thought. Saoirse? What is this? Why are you here? In a wig? Alex got me. He took a few steps back. I really like you, Alex, and I've decided to get dressed like Bibi. You're crazy! Alex ran out of the gym, and I felt so ashamed. It's been a week, but I don't dare go to school. I called Alex to apologize, and he didn't answer. I realized that I love him, and I want to be with him. Maybe you can give me some advice. I'm looking forward to your thoughts. Please write to me anything you think might help my situation. I would appreciate your help.
Hi, my name is Dory, and I'm going to tell you something very exciting. My mom and I live in a poor neighborhood because we have to save money. When I was about 13, I started noticing that the guys on my block were looking at me strangely. They whistled at me, whispered when I walked, and then laughed out loud. I told my mom about it. She said that because I was growing up fast, guys started paying attention to me, and it's dangerous. She told me what they could do to me if they stopped me in a dark alley late at night. My daughter, you're very pretty. You're attracting the attention of older guys, and that could end badly. My mom bought me baggy clothes, some baseball caps, and even dark glasses. When I got dressed, I hardly recognized myself in the mirror, and the guys in the neighborhood didn't recognize me too. But it turned out my attractiveness was a bone in the throat for my classmates too. One day, the sassiest ones decided to make fun of Rosie, my only friend. And she, unlike me, never bothered of what others would think of her. But she better did. It didn't end well.
Before I go any further, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you click on the bell so you'll know when there's a new video coming out.
I once walked into a lady's room. and saw these snooty chicks writing something with lipstick on the wall. Oh no, they were writing nasty things about Rosie. I stood up for her. Leave Rosie alone. She didn't do anything to you. Uh-oh. What? Our Miss Universe got a big mouth all of a sudden? Oh, just wait. I am not done with you too. And they ran out of the ladies' room with loud laughter. And the next day, I was called to the principal. He showed me a picture of the very wall in the bathroom that said, in red lipstick, Principal Billman is an ugly jerk.
There was a complaint against you. There are witnesses who saw you write it. I don't even have lipstick, I protested. The principal shook out the contents of my bag, and at the bottom was the same bright red lipstick. I knew who had planted it. The principal suspended me from classes for a whole week, and no arguments helped, but it gave me time to come up with a revenge plan. Courtney was the meanest girl, and she'd been dating Peter for a long time. He ran the school newspaper. I knew he'd stayed late at school because the weekly paper took up a lot of his time. A week later, I shoved all my baggy clothes deep into my closet, found my most revealing dress, styled my hair nicely, and did a flashy makeup. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I was so beautiful. Everyone at school was shocked. No one had ever seen me like that before. And the guys looked at me with interest. Everyone went home after classes, and I followed Peter and saw him hurrying to his newsroom. I waited half an hour and knocked on his door quietly. Peter was sitting at his desk, typing something on his computer. "Hi, Peter." I shot him a glance. "Hi." Peter looked at me curiously. He had a reputation as a womanizer at school, but Courtney kept him on a short leash. "I came to tell you that I love the way you write and your paper." I walked over to him and sat down on the table. Tilting my head playfully, Peter looked at my figure appreciatively. "You're a cool girl, Dory. If it wasn't for Courtney, I'd hook up with you." "So go for it. I like you too, Peter." I leaned over to him and wrapped one arm around his neck and kissed him right on the lips. At that moment, my loyal best friend Rosie snapped a picture of us kissing on her phone. She was waiting in the hallway the whole time to snap the right moment. When Peter saw her, he jumped up and waved his arms. "What are you doing?" "Courtney is going to kill me." But it was too late. A minute later, the photo appeared on Instagram. Rosie tagged Peter in it, and then the whole thing just took off like a rocket. The photo collected a record number of likes and comments within an hour, and I got a threatening email from Courtney. I knew that now I better not go back to this school. That's why I already transferred to another school a week ago. So now I'm getting acquainted with everyone, but this time, I'm not hiding behind baggy clothes. On the contrary, I wear whatever I want, and I am not afraid of anyone. Let them only try to offend me. I'll fight back. What would you do if you were me? Would you take revenge on Courtney? Or would you come up with something else? Please tell me. I am very curious. Hi, I'm Betsy. Let me tell you a story that ruined my life. But you better let me tell you everything from the beginning. My dad once became interested in exploring his genealogical tree, his ancestry, and one day he announced to my mom and me that he had ordered a DNA test for all of us. He said it would be interesting and informative. I was excited, but my mom reacted very strangely. She waved her hands and started resenting that. No need for any test, it's very expensive. And why share such personal information with some laboratory?
My dad and I looked at each other. We shrugged our shoulders, but the point was that the test had already been ordered. And the next day, while Mom was at work and Dad was home on vacation, the delivery guy brought these tests to us. We quickly did the tests and started waiting for the results. A couple of days later, they appeared in the mail. Dad found out that he was 30% German, 55% Danish, and 15% English. In principle, this was to be expected, but when he opened my results, he was shocked that I am 50% Spanish like my mother, but 50% French. How? Why is Betsy half French? My dad was pestering my mom. You cheated on me? So Betsy isn't my daughter? Mom nodded her head in denial and cried, and then admitted to Dad that she had had an affair with a Frenchman while they were in Paris for the weekend. Dad was crushed by the news. He packed up Mom's things and kicked her out of the house. He soon filed for divorce. I can't tell you how hard this is for me. I tried to talk to Dad, but he wouldn't listen to me and wouldn't forgive Mom. He said he loved me anyway and will continue loving me no matter what. But Mom, she betrayed him. Mom rented an apartment in a different neighborhood. And when she got settled in a little bit, I decided to have a serious talk with her. Honestly, I was afraid to hear the truth, but I had no other choice. At first, my mother was reluctant, crying, but then she gave in and told me everything. Before I continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you have clicked on the bell, and then you'll know when there's a new video coming out on the channel. Turns out my mom and dad, as soon as they got married, wanted kids right away. They loved each other very much and thought that a child would be an extension of their love. But it didn't work out. For a month, a year, and then 9 years, Mom couldn't get pregnant, and seeing how Dad was suffering from not being able to have a baby, she took a risk. And during their weekend in Paris, she accidentally met a Frenchman in a hotel bar and spent the night with him. Dad was sick at the time. He was in his room, and he didn't suspect anything. Well, when he found out that Mom was pregnant, he was extremely happy. And now that horrible DNA test had ruined everything. Our family, our life. Mom covered her face with her hands and wept bitterly. I didn't know what to say to her. The only phrase that came to mind was that time will heal the pain. 6 months had passed since then. I spent my weekends with my mom, but I live with my dad all the time. He and my mother do not communicate. I feel very hurt and bad about it. But Dad keeps telling me not to worry. The main thing is that both my mom and dad love me very much. I hope they will reconcile after this. Or at least they will start talking. I'm glad that Dad didn't turn his back on me because I love him so much. He raised me. That's why he is my real dad. What do you think of the story? Any advice on how I can get back together my mom and dad? Write your opinion. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm Sarah. I'm 15 now, and I come from a pretty wealthy family in Florida. My dad, by hook or by crook, ran his own business, which made half the town hate him, and the other half work for him. One day, he got sued for not paying his taxes, but somehow he managed to get away with it. And after that, he became an even more arrogant asshole. I was coming out of school one day. A black minivan pulled up and 2 black-clad figures grabbed me and pushed me in the van. I'm kidnapped! It went through my head, but I wasn't really scared, to be honest. One of the kidnappers jumped into the front seat, started the car, and we sped away. The other one was sitting next to me. He was wearing a mask, but I noticed that he had very beautiful eyes. Half an hour later, the driver stopped the van. They blindfolded me, took me under my arms, and led me, as it turned out, to some small cellar. There was a mattress and a pillow on the floor and a small chair in the corner. "I'm sorry we had to do that to you," said in a soft voice the guy who was sitting next to me in the minivan. "Do you want some water?" I nodded in response. He sat down next to me on the mattress and took off his mask. "I'm Donnie, by the way," he said quietly to me, "and I know who you are, and you're here now because of your father. I'm going to demand a ransom for you because your father owes big my family. My father is a terrible man." Donnie looked at me in surprise. "Really? Wow, so you and I both think the same." I nodded. "Your father wanted to buy my family's store, but when our family turned down the deal, he set the building on fire and burned it down. Now we can barely make ends meet to live on." I looked at Donnie. I was so ashamed of my father, so I decided to help the guy. "Donnie, I'm afraid my dad won't pay the ransom for me. I'm not that important to him. He'll spare the money. But I have a plan to help you." Donnie looked at me in surprise and smiled. "You're gonna help someone who kidnapped you? Sarah, you're amazing, girl." And those words made me feel so good. I told Donnie that we were going to sneak into my house at night. I know the password to the alarm, and I know where my dad keeps his money. We take everything we can carry and split the money 50-50. Are you in? Donnie and I shook hands and waited for the night to come. It was getting chilly in the basement, and I was lightly dressed. "Donnie, can I sit closer to you? I'm cold." Donnie moved in and put his arms around me. I closed my eyes. I wanted this moment to last forever. Before I continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you click on the bell, so you'll know when there's a new video coming out on the channel. And as soon as it hit midnight, we tiptoed into my house. Everyone was asleep. We broke into my father's office and I typed in the password and opened the safe. It was stuffed to the top with money. After filling 2 bags with cash, we went out into the hallway. But then my dog started barking. "Damn it, Piper, be quiet, be quiet." But the dog continued barking happily after noticing me. Immediately the light came on and my father ran down from the 2nd floor. "Oh, that's it. You decided to steal from your own father? I'll send you behind bars, both of you," Dad yelled. Donnie reacted quickly. He pushed my father to the ground and with the duct tape he had in his pocket, taped his mouth and hands together. I locked Bifer in the kitchen and we ran off with bags full of money. In the basement, we counted our catch. "Wow, that's almost $600,000. Donnie was shocked. We split it evenly, just like we'd agreed. Donnie gave some of his money to the family to help grow the business. And I decided to leave town and start over. "I want to go with you, Sarah," Donnie whispered and hugged me tight. We hugged, got on the first bus we could find, and drove to my aunt's house in Nevada. Upon arrival, I called my mom and told her everything. Turns out she'd slept over at a friend's house that night and didn't know what happened between me and my dad, but she whispered that Dad was looking for me. "Don't worry, daughter. I won't let him hurt you. He won't harm you." A couple of days later, I read in the papers that Dad was being accused of a pretty big case involving fake money. And there's irrefutable evidence of his guilt. "Thank you, Mommy," I whispered joyfully and realized that I could breathe out now. My father wouldn't be ruining my life anymore, at least not anytime soon. And Donnie and I sometimes remember the story of how he kidnapped me and how our relationship with him started. What do you think of the story? Write in the comments. I'm very curious.
Hey, I'm Emma, and here's my story. Once, while at class in school, I received a message from my mother. Thinking that there was something very important, I immediately read it secretly under my desk. Barry won't be home. Come now. I felt bad because I immediately understood everything. Barry is my dad, and it was clearly not me who should have read this message. Mom, realizing that she made a mistake, sent me a funny emoji and a short phrase. Sorry, I made a mistake. Now I understand everything. She is cheating on my father. I was very angry with my mother. I needed to find out everything. Raising my hand, I told the teacher that I wasn't feeling well. I quickly left the classroom and hurried home. On the way, I thought about what I would do. My house was only a few blocks from the school. So after 15 minutes, I was already sitting in the bushes near my windows. I decided to find out everything to the end. Waiting in ambush for a mysterious stranger, I didn't know what to do next. Should I tell Dad? This will be a terrible blow to him. But he has been very happy lately. Things in the company went up, his salary was raised. Dad flew on wings, and this news will upset him terribly. And how to speak with Mom now? While I was tormented by sad thoughts, a car parked near the house. I knew this car well. But I still didn't want to believe until my godfather, Uncle Sam, Dad's brother, came out of it. I was overcome with rage. How could Mom cheat on Dad with his brother? It's horrible. I tried to remember how Uncle Sam behaved in the company of my mother at family holidays. Were there times when they behaved strangely? Tried to hide somewhere in the room? My head was spinning with these thoughts. What if my dad doesn't believe me? I could hardly believe what was happening, but the message from Mom left no chance. Yes, and Uncle Sam behaved strangely. Why did he park across the street? And he goes to the house, looking around. I took a couple of pictures. Here he is walking down the street. Here he comes to my house. And he comes in. What should I do now? I decided to get closer to the window to take more photos. But at the same time, I was afraid to look through the window and see what I did not want to see. But once I decided, I needed to find out everything to the end. Taking a breath of air into my lungs, I went to the window. I heard my mother's loud laughter, and she was serving Uncle Sam a glass of champagne. Tears welled up in my throat. I wasn't wrong. There really is something between them. With trembling hands, I took a couple of shots and returned to my hiding place in the bushes. What should I tell Mom? As soon as I began to think through the conversation with her, I began to shake. And my father, how can he tell that his cutie Dory, whom he's been with since high school, is having an affair with his brother? I didn't want to be the one to bring bad news. I felt so sad when I thought about it. What will happen to my family now? Dad, having learned everything, will immediately file for divorce. And who will I live with? Better with Dad. At least I trust him. I will never be able to trust my mom again. And she will definitely be angry with me when I tell everything. Maybe even hate me. I don't want her to stop loving me. These thoughts made me panic. When Dad came home, I was already not myself. Uncle Sam was in the house, and I didn't want Dad to see them. The very thought made me sick. I couldn't just let my dad walk in. When he turned the key in the lock, I ran up to him. I held my phone in my hands to show him the photos. He was surprised when he saw me.
Emma, what a surprise! I didn't know you were already at home. Don't you have extra classes at school today?
He said surprisingly. Hi, Dad. Classes have been canceled. The teacher is sick. I lied without blushing. Dad grabbed the doorknob to enter the house. I grabbed his hand and said firmly, Wait. Dad, I need to tell you something. Then suddenly the door swung open, and in the doorway stood my mother, Uncle Sam, and many more of my father's friends and colleagues from work. They all held champagne in their hands and shouted, "Surprise!" Uncle Sam came up to my dad and with the words, "Congrats on your promotion, brother." He handed Dad a glass. My dad even had tears in his eyes. He was very surprised, and I was shocked. And I understood that for Dad, this was an absolute surprise from the beginning. And scrolling back in my head all of the events, I felt a little ashamed. It's a shame that I didn't immediately understand why Uncle Sam parked the car on the other side of the road. And all because everything was packed with other cars of our friends. And now, they were standing here and congratulating my father, embracing everyone. Dad quickly brushed away a happy tear, and I stood aside, feeling very stupid. Mom came up to me. "I didn't know you were home, Emma. What about your classes?" I blushed to the ends of my hair. They've been canceled." I looked up at my mother. "Did you prepare a secret party for Dad?" "Yes! Everyone wanted to surprise him and congratulate him on his promotion." "I'm so proud of you, dear." Mom ran up to Dad and hugging him kissed him lightly. It was such a relief to see their loving glances. Our party dragged on until late in the evening, and before going to bed, I deleted the photos with Uncle Sam that I took while sitting in the bushes, because it would be strange if someone saw them. And this situation taught me not to make any hasty decisions. Not everything is always as it seems at first glance. Therefore, you need to check your suspicions so as not to get into an awkward situation later. How it happened to me. Have you had such a situation? Have you been in similar stories? Share in the comments, it would be very interesting for me to read. And please, like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other interesting stories.
Hi, I'm Carla. I'm 15 years old and I caught my stepmother in the act. But first things first. My mom died of a serious illness when I was 5. And ever since then, my dad has spent all of his time with me. We spent evenings together, we went on walks, we talked. Everything was wonderful. And 2 years ago, he met Mimi at work. I could tell right away that she was a real flirt. But for the first time in years, Dad was happy. Soon they got married, and the 3 of us started living together. Mimi just hated me. When Dad was away, she pretended I wasn't there. But when Dad was, she became a loving, caring stepmother. One weekend, we went to our country house. I took my boyfriend George with me to make it more fun. The weather was beautiful, so Dad and George went fishing right away. I read a book on a deck chair on the porch, and Mimi relaxed in the house. Relaxing in the sun, I dozed off. And when I woke up, I was thirsty. I ran into the house for a drink of water, and suddenly I saw Mimi at the window. She was whispering languidly to someone on the phone. "I love you very much, too. I'll be there tomorrow." I felt like a cold shower from head to toe. Mimi was having an affair behind my father's back. Liar! The next morning, Mimi ran into the kitchen in her tracksuit. We were just having coffee. "I'm going for a run," Mimi chirped, ran out into the yard, and a minute later I heard the sound of an engine. She came back 2 hours later in great spirits, wiggling beside my dad, smiling at everyone, and I wanted to grab her by the hair and throw her into the lake by the house. And the next day, I had an idea. Before I continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you have clicked on the bell Then you'll know when there's a new video coming out on the channel. Mimi went for another run this morning. But this time, I was prepared for it. As soon as she got in her car to leave, I abruptly opened the window and sat next to her in the passenger seat. I have to go to town, to the supermarket. Can you give me a ride? Mimi just nodded silently. 20 minutes later, we were there. Mimi looked at me questioningly. Get out, there's the supermarket. And I suddenly rolled my eyes and groaned. Oh, Mimi, I feel bad. Oh, I feel sick, I guess. I need water. Oh, please? Mimi was clearly not happy with this turn of events, but she got out of the car and walked quickly toward the supermarket for water. Suddenly, a motorcyclist in a black mask came around the corner, swooped down on Mimi, and snatched her purse from her hands and sped away. It all happened so fast that Mimi froze, and then she got hysterical. I could hardly get her into the car, assuring her that we would find the thief, and took a sobbing Mimi home. At home, I gave her a sedative and she fell asleep peacefully. Dad was out fishing the whole time. And there was George waiting in my room, holding that very purse of Mimi's. Yes, he was the one wearing the mask on Daddy's old motorcycle. He had snatched the purse. Now we sat down on the bed to look through its contents. There wasn't anything interesting in there. A purse, a makeup bag, and there it was, her phone. Not even password protected. We're in luck. I found a correspondence between Mimi and Miguel, and even a picture of her with a guy I didn't know. Oh, they even saw each other yesterday. She was wearing a tracksuit. In the correspondence, they were exchanging fond phrases and making arrangements for secret meetings. I was terribly disgusted. I heard my dad coming back from fishing. I went downstairs. He was so happy he'd caught a lot of fish, and he asked where Mimi was. She's asleep. I gave her a sedative. Daddy went pale. Don't worry, Dad. She just had her bag stolen in the parking lot. She got overwhelmed, but she's sleeping now. Dad got upset. I won't forgive myself if something happens to Mimi. I love her, and she shouldn't stress out right now. And Dad looked at me meaningfully. You mean Mimi's pregnant? Yes! Daddy almost jumped for joy. You're going to have a brother or sister! I've been dreaming about it for so long. And I was hiding my phone behind my back, which had correspondence and pictures that would ruin my dad's happiness forever. And I hesitated. Should I show him? I would break his heart. But I cannot leave it without attention too. What to do? Please advise me?
Hi, I'm Bonnie, and I have a twin sister, Becky. After one unpleasant incident, I now always mention when introducing myself that I have a twin, and here's why. When I was 14, I met Simon. He was the new kid at our school, but he became super popular right away. Tall with a good athletic body, he immediately attracted attention of everyone, and mine too. It turned out that he and I had a common hobby. We both liked to skate, and I found it out in the town park after a couple of days. We started skating together on weekends and sometimes after school. We kissed for the first time on roller skates, and I realized that I fell in love with this guy, and it was mutual. If he and I were going to the same school, why didn't he see my sister, you ask? Becky went to a different school. She was a math genius, so she got into a prestigious math school after junior high. She and I got along great, but in my heart, I was glad Simon didn't know her. Becky was not only a very smart girl, but also had a great sense of humor, and she had a lot of boys chasing her. So I was really worried that Simon would leave if he met her. He and I agreed to meet one Saturday night at our favorite spot near the town lake. I arrived at the agreed time, but Simon wasn't there yet. After waiting a half an hour, I called him. There was no answer. I texted him, and there was silence again. It was strange. Simon was usually always on time. An hour later, I returned home upset. What could have happened? I couldn't help thinking the most terrible things. It could have been an accident, or could have been kidnapped, or... Hold on. I dialed his home number, and Simon's mother answered. She said he was fine and that he was out with friends. So, he deliberately doesn't pick up the phone when I call? And he's not answering my messages? But why? I didn't sleep very well that night. And this morning at school, when I saw Simon, I ran up to him. Simon, what's happening? Why did you tell me, Bonnie, what happened yesterday? Yesterday? I saw you yesterday with another guy in the park. You were kissing. My insides went cold. Was I wearing a red dress? I whispered. Why are you asking me? Yes, you were, and you were hugging another guy, Bonnie. I figured it out. Simon saw my sister Becky with her boyfriend last night and assumed it was me. Now I have to introduce them to each other if I want to keep my relationship with Simon. And I didn't want that to happen. In the evening, I knocked on the door of Simon's house. He opened the door. I don't want to see you, Bonnie. You betrayed me. Wait, I protested. Meet my twin sister, Becky. And Simon saw two girls who looked just like each other. Hi, Simon. I'm Becky. Nice to meet you. I explained to Simon that he'd seen Becky yesterday. I'd been waiting for him at our favorite spot in the park the whole time. Why didn't you tell me you had a twin sister? I was afraid, Simon. I was afraid that once you met her, you'd break up with me. Bonnie's so cool. She's really smart and funny. Don't be ridiculous, Bonnie. I don't want Becky. I love you, he said, and he held me tight against his arm. From that day on, sometimes the four of us would hang out together. Simon, me, Becky, and her boyfriend. We had a lot of fun together, and I wished I had introduced my sister to my boyfriend earlier. So now I always tell people when I meet them that I have a twin sister. So there won't be any more misunderstandings like that. What do you think? Was it right that I introduced Becky to Simon? Do you have a twin sister or brother? Have you had any funny incidents happen to you? Write to me. I'm looking forward to read your stories.